Do I regret it? No. You know why? Because it's who I am. It's what created me. It's part of my journey. It's what makes me unique and what makes me special. People are like, oh, they see me and they're like, oh man, like I would have never guessed you're like sleeved up and tatted. And is that a tattoo on your face? And I'm like, yeah, it is. And they're like, what? Really? And so, but that's like what makes me different, right? And that's what separates me from everybody else. So I don't regret anything. Have I made poor decisions in my life? Yes, I've made many poor decisions, man. That's more than I can think of. I've been locked up multiple times, not for long extended stays, but overnighters multiple times. I've been in hospitals. I have like over 60 stitches all over my body from dumb things that I've done. I've gotten into bar fights, all kinds of fights. I was hanging around the wrong people for a long time. And when I say the wrong people, I don't mean bad people because they're good people in their heart, but just people that were making mistakes, that were misguided and weren't really bringing any value to my life, right?
I'm on the way. I'm on the way. My vibration got too damn high, I got stuck in the clouds. I'm on the way. I'm on the way. My vibration got too high, I got stuck in the clouds.
What's up, friends and family? Welcome back to another episode of the Highly Emotional Podcast. We're doing things a little different today. Usually, we do the whole microphone setup and we're inside. Today, we're outside. We're out in nature. We're riding with the experience. And today I have a special guest. He's a dear friend of mine, great friend of mine, someone I look up to. He's a great father, great entrepreneur. He's even written books. He's done it all on that entrepreneur business level. And yeah, welcome to my podcast, Jose Escobar.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, we could do it like a microphone in a sense. Welcome to the podcast, bro. Like, this is your first time. It's been years since we actually linked up and had a great conversation, since we've like sat down and really got to this level. And for me personally, I didn't got married. I didn't became a family man. You didn't got married, became a family man, and it's a whole different version of us. And I want to say, like, I want to give you your flowers, bro, and say that everything that I see you doing, I'm proud to be able to watch it, to be able to experience it, and to be able to be your friend, to admire you going through those things. So,
well, I appreciate it, Lachey. Tuesday.
On Tuesday now.
Excuse me, Tuesday. I know him as Lachey, so you'll always be Lachey in my book, but Tuesday. It's good to have you here in my neck of the woods, and I appreciate the kind words. Yes, a lot has happened in the last few years in terms of personal development, personal growth, stepping out of being a troublesome hood rat, which I was for quite some time, doing all kinds of dumb things and not taking life seriously, to growing into a man and what manhood really is, and being here for my family, God first, family second, my health third, and then business fourth, and then everything else after that. So that's kind of how I do things now, and it's been a progression, and it's definitely been a journey.
Yeah, so I've admired your journey as an entrepreneur, being able to get out there and get it, and the culture that, I've been around entrepreneurs, even though people don't shed light on it. Like, some entrepreneurs start off as, drug dealers. Some entrepreneurs start out, quick schemes, you know what I'm saying? And then it helps progress them into becoming this entrepreneur or a businessman. For example, someone like, and I hate talking about celebrities, but for example, someone like Gucci, man, right? One thing about being an entrepreneur and being owning businesses and just even chasing a dream is like that stature of no risk, no reward. And like, what does that represent for you? Because a lot of people are scared to step into being, this boss, or being an entrepreneur, or, owning a business. Everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people are scared to do that because they're afraid that they will fail. So what's your take on that?
Well, there is no success without failure. That's first and foremost. Anybody that is successful today in any industry, any genre of life, business, they have failed multiple times. You look at the most successful people in any room and they're the biggest failures, right? Because success is all about failing forward, right? Anytime you fail, it's okay. Failing doesn't equal losing, right? A loser only loses when you throw in the towel and you give up and you don't learn from the experience. Then you're a loser. And unfortunately, there are losers in the world, and it sucks. But it doesn't mean that you stay there. You don't have to stay a loser. You just have to understand what losing means and what failing means. They're two separate things. So it's okay to fail. It's not okay to lose. So when you fail, that's just part of the journey. That's the learning experience. That's life. And you just got to keep it moving. And you got to ask yourself, what do I need to learn from this, right? And it's been said many times, a cliche statement is, sometimes you just have to turn your mess into your message, right? So there is that.
So then how did you step into that, like, you know what, I'm just going to roll with the punches mentality, as, you know, like, I'm going to keep on going? Because I'm going to use me as an example. Like, for example, I used to be afraid of this side of the spectrum, right? I used to be afraid of failing. And for me, I realized that I failed enough times that up was the only thing that was next for me. But how did you step into, you know what I'm saying? Like, all right, now I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to follow and pursue this.
So I had a talk with my wife January 15th of 2022, about 2.5 years ago. And she had a talk with me, and she basically said to me, Jose, I love you. The sandwich method, right? Compliment, message, compliment. We've all heard that. So she started nicely. I love you. I respect you. I'm inspired by you. Very proud of all your accomplishments. You're doing some great things. And then she said, but at some point, you got to start making money in your business, right? Because I was investing in coaches and mentors and programs and courses and summits and webinars and conventions and boot camps and masterminds and you name it, whatever it's called for personal development, personal growth. I was doing it, right? I was paying. I'm not afraid to invest in myself. And one of the biggest things that most people don't do is that they're not willing to invest in themselves. They're willing to invest in themselves for entertainment purposes, but not for personal and professional development.
So like
right?
buying a TV?
Buying a TV, buying a nice video game system, buying nice clothes, alcohol, nice cigars, expensive hobbies, but they will not buy a book. They will not buy a course. They will not buy a program. They will not go to a summit or a convention. They will not hire a coach or mentor. They won't do the things that actually move the needle, right? And then they complain, why am I not growing in life? Well, it's pretty obvious. It's pretty clear. It doesn't take a genius to figure that part out, right? So to answer your question, Katie said to me that message, and I said, damn, like I've been spinning my wheels, invested all this money, and Warren Buffett said it best. He said the greatest investment one can make is an investment in yourself, right? And I understood that, and I've been doing that for a long time, but it never paid off. And the reason why it never paid off is because I was doing a lot of learning, and growing, but no action.
No applying.
And no application. So information without implementation is just head knowledge, right? Applied knowledge is where you start to move the needle. So when she had that heart-to-heart talk with me, I didn't like it. It was a bitter pill to swallow. It sucked. It was a shot to my ego. So I went for a walk in my neighborhood. I had a cigar. I did some praying. I did some meditation. I had like a day to myself. And then I told myself, enough is enough. I'm just going to start applying everything I know. I already know enough. I don't need to do more research. I just got to do the work. And once you do the work, the game changes.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with that. I used to have this mentality of, and you know me, I've been doing music since you met me, right? And with doing music, I always had this idea of someone's going to put me in place, right? And that was my idea for the longest. So even when I finally got deep in the music industry and I start meeting celebrities, we're talking about the people that we think are the top of the top, the people that we looked up to when we were younger, only to end up connecting with them and to find out that they can't do, and like respectfully, they can't do shit for you. It's about you putting in the power. You can pray, you can manifest, you can say all that stuff that you want, but at some point you have to get up off your ass and really put in the work. You can't get a six pack without hitting that gym.
There's a quick saying, not to interrupt you. They say, pray like it depends on God, but act like it depends on you.
That's who said that?
I don't know.
That's beautiful. Whoever came up with that, that's a beautiful quote. So another thing that you were saying is you said that before you really stepped into the journey, you said that you went on that walk and you prayed and you meditated. So with being an entrepreneur, with being this, powerful man, as I'm going to call you, being this powerful man, what type of rituals do you apply to your everyday life so that you're always in this mind state to go out and get it, to be this person that I'm sitting here with today?
The type of rituals are, they've been developed over time. So I didn't wake up one day and start doing it all, right? That's the biggest mistake people make, in my opinion, and it's my opinion only, take it or leave it, is that people go in too hard, too quick, and it's not sustainable. And then they're like, I'm just gonna, get in shape. And then they go 75 hard. And a lot of people can't even do it. Or they say, you know what, I'm just gonna get healthier, so I'm gonna quit eating sugar and salt. And then they don't last because it's just all too much too soon, right? So the key is, instead of doing half a teaspoon of sugar or a full teaspoon of sugar, just go down to half a teaspoon of sugar. Moderation, small, simple steps. This guy, what's his name? Atomic Habits, James Clear, great book. He talks about small, simple steps.
I think I have that on my reading list.
Yeah, so you gotta apply Atomic Habits and small, simple steps. Also, Jim Quick talks about in his book Limitless, right? So that is the key: is don't overindulge, don't go all in too quick, too fast, too heavy, because it's not sustainable. Just take small baby steps, right, to anything. So for what I did, I have a morning routine, 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. Monday through Friday. I have a evening routine from 9 to 10:30 Monday through Friday. That is set in stone. So I do that religiously. I don't think about it. It's essentially automaticity. Automaticity means you've been doing something long enough to where it just becomes a habit, right? And we all have habits. The problem is most of us have negative habits that don't serve us. And we are so ingrained in it, like sitting, watching Netflix and growing roots on your couch, or playing video games endlessly, or, I can go on all kinds of things. But the reality is, I have a morning routine, I have an evening routine. I call it the bookends of your day. How you start your day, how you end your day to create maximum productivity and to get the results that you want in your day, in your life, right? So that's what I do. I also pray every single day with my family. We have family reading time. We pray as a family. We read as a family. Every Sunday we have time where we read as a family. Like, that cements the culture of reading, right? And reading is the lowest hanging fruit for anybody to change their life. There's many other things that I do here in terms of rituals that I do in order to stay, up, to stay positive, to stay enlightened, to stay moving the needle, to stay productive, to not fall, because we can all fall if we're not careful.
That's beautiful. One of the things that you did put me onto is reading. I became an avid reader. Where I'm at, so I'm more on the spiritual side of things. Have you ever heard of Michael Singer?
The name rings a bell, but I don't know specifically.
He wrote The Surrender Experiment, and basically he became a very successful man. But he talks about just following the flow of life, the God within you, the God within the world, the God, that is your living force. And just allowing life, you know where you're going to be, not surrender on the part where you just do what everyone else to say and not have goals for yourself, but allowing yourself to just thrive in now, every day. And so when you talk about those rituals, that 4 a.m., I'm one of those 4 a.m. guys now. I go to the gym almost every day, right? Unless I'm on vacation or something like that. And before, I used to beat myself up I didn't go to the gym. I did 75 hard. I lost a lot of weight. Right now, I probably gained back 10 pounds. I got down to 185 at the time. Right now, I'm 190, sometimes 200, whatever. But I was 226 pounds, 229 pounds at the time. And when I jumped in it, I'm different. I go cold turkey because I don't want to feel like I'm addicted to anything, and I want to give it my all. And if I fail, then I want to be able to sit with that failure and say, hey, I fucked up. I messed up. I made a mistake. I'm human. Let's do it again. And let's do it again. Because one thing I believe is discipline makes the master, right? And if you really want something, you have to make it a priority. A lot of people, they make excuses. Oh, like, it's like somebody who says, oh, I want to be healthy, right? But then they go to McDonald's, get the $5 combo with every large fry that comes with it. And then what they do is drink a Diet Coke. And to me, that's not enough, because you can think that you're doing something great, but let's be real. You shouldn't even went to McDonald's.
The 11th commandment, thou shalt not fool thyself. Yes.
So that's my take on it. But it's beautiful. That 75 hard thing, it was one of the most beautiful things, because after I finished it, I got caught up in not drinking that gallon of water a day, to where I was drinking a gallon of water a day 3 weeks after it. And if I did not drink my water, if it got 12 o'clock at night, I was like, oh shit, I did something wrong. I messed up this and that. And I realized that I got caught into those habits that you're talking about, right? And so I realized, I was like, okay, I'm not going to just beat myself up about this, but I'm going to apply it to my life. I've been vegan. I've been alkaline. I've been vegetarian. I've been on the carnivore diet. I've done all this stuff. And what I realized is it's not about following the diet. It's about maintaining your discipline for yourself and maintaining a lifestyle, maintaining those lifestyle habits, so that 5 a.m., 4 a.m., waking up, reading a book. I meditate. I hit the gym. I hit the sauna. I find time for myself, because I realize that maintaining me before I go maintain my family, before I go maintain my financial stability, I have to do that first, because if not, then my life is going to be hectic. So I have to set me up first so that I can attack the world. Does that make sense?
Makes complete sense. I'm with you.
Yeah. So a lot of people feel like when you put yourself first, it's selfish. The thing about when we talk about, you said you put God first, which is great. For me, God is that connection to myself. The reason why I say this is because when I pray, when I meditate, the voice of God I hear within me. You may not hear God how I hear God. You may not experience God how I experience God. We are all humans in different experiences, even though we live in the same world. The way that you view your world is not how I view my world. So having that connection with God, I search for it first by finding solitude in myself, hugging trees, meditating. Every Saturday, I meditate with a Buddhist monk. All these different things, because these are the things that are thriving my personal spirit. And I feel like us as men, us as fathers, us as entrepreneurs, us as human beings, even if you're a woman, you have to find time for your peace of mind.
Man. All right. I like it. I mean, yeah, I think speaking, kind of piggybacking off what you were saying, excuse me, it's important to be able to live in stillness, right? Because the world moves so fast. There's so many things going on. There's so many lights and colors and movement and noises and chatter and things to do, money to spend. I mean, it's just so much going on nonstop in society and in the world that sometimes you got to slow down to speed up. And Ryan Holiday wrote a great book called Stillness is the Key. And I believe stillness is the key. I believe that in the stillness, in the silence, we can hear the voice of God. I believe that in the silence, we can connect with our higher power. You know, whatever you want to call it. Some people call it the universe. They call it Mother Nature. They call it the God. They call it whatever you want to call it, right? I call it God. And I'm Catholic. I was born and raised. I'm a cradle Catholic, very much in my faith. I believe in everything the Catholic Church teaches. But at the end of the day, one thing that I do know is that if I look at somebody who is Christian or I look at somebody who's a different religion, at the end of the day, I'm not going to judge them and say you're wrong and I'm right. Because at the end of the day, it's like God looks at your heart. God doesn't look at your religion or your faith. He looks at your heart. And even in the Catholic Church, it says that it looks at your heart, right? just because, and there's certain religions out there that say, oh, if you're not this, then you're going to hell, right? I don't say that. I don't believe that. The Catholic Church doesn't believe that. So I think we just got to make sure, I think everybody at some point has to connect with the higher power, our creator, right? Because everything that has been created has a creator, right? So something created us. You know, I mean, that's just the reality. I mean, and you can go down and peel back the onion and say, oh, well, there was an explosion and we just like appeared and from fish or from whatever.
Something created that explosion.
There's all kinds of things that we can say, but at the end of the day, at some point, it's going to lead to faith. And you got to know you either believe something or you don't. And if you don't, all the power to you. It is what it is. I encourage people to have faith in something, preferably God, and just to tap into that, because I think that's the source, the inner divine that allows us to be our best selves and allows us to have peace and joy. Because in life, we're not here to be happy. We're not meant to be happy. We are meant to pursue life, to do what we're supposed to do here on earth at the highest level, to experience it, right? But also, you have to find joy. You have to be able to find joy in the midst of the unhappiness, in the midst of the challenges. And that's the reality. And joy and fulfillment comes with a deeper connection with your creator.
Yeah, that's a beautiful spin. I'm not gonna lie to you. I appreciate everything you say, because I'm not big on religion. But I respect what you said, because it let me know that some people who are religious have the understanding of God not just having to be that specific religion. And I think that was beautifully put. That was the first time I ever heard someone Catholic say it in that spin. Most of the people that I meet that are Christian or Catholic, mostly my main thing, or people that I deal with, are Christians, and they're more like, oh, you need to go to church. And I'm like, why do you say that? Right? Oh, you need Jesus. I know about Jesus. I know about these religions. I understand. And she's like, even with all them tattoos? I said, yeah, because I
have
believe
plenty of tattoos too, by the way. So don't let the hoodie fool you, by the way.
Facts. But my thing is, it is about what's in your heart. And anybody who is lacking faith, I think that the best start is to search within. Don't listen to us about our experience with God. Go through yourself is the thing that I always say, is search within. Back to what we said about that solitude. Sit in solitude. That is when you will hear the true voice of God. You might think that you talking to yourself or you're hearing voices, but when you're connected, you truly understand like the divine connection to the creator. So that was beautifully put.
I gotta, and this is an interesting topic. I gotta kind of keep going with what he's saying. Sometimes we have this idea that, when God speaks to us, we're going to hear like a literal voice. Like we're going to hear something in our head saying, hey, you need to do, you need to go do that. And you think it's God talking, like people are waiting for that. I'm like, I never hear God. I'm trying to listen for God and I'm silent and I don't hear crap.
You're going to hear you.
So the reality is that the inner, so you hear God's voice in silence, right? And guess what? We were created in the image of God, right? Per scripture. So if we're created in the image of God, then that means God resides within us.
Yes.
And that means, it doesn't necessarily mean we are God. It just means that God is in us. And God's voice by default is our soul. And our soul goes back to our gut and our conscience and the things that we say to ourselves, right? So if you're thinking thoughts, that very well could be God speaking to you, through your soul, through your conscience, right? Through your gut. So trust it. That's why I always go with my gut, because my gut is typically my gut is 99% of the time correct, whether it's negative or positive.
That's facts.
Right? So, but the only way you can truly have that deep connection and have really solid, like nonstop, like, oh yeah, like I feel like this is serving me well. The only way that works is if you have, you take the time to build that connection, right? You take the time to build that relationship. You take the time to get used to being in silence, because most of us are moving so fast and so aggressively and all the time that we never take the time to be silent. When we do, we feel awkward, we feel uneasy, and we feel impatient, and we never get the fruit that comes from silence. But it only comes from practice, right? And practice takes time. And you start with 1 minute, and then eventually you go to 2, and then eventually 3. And eventually you can sit down for half an hour with yourself in silence with your eyes closed and just meditating, and you feel a sense of solitude and joy and fulfillment. And then you say, okay, I think I know what I need to do next.
That's beautiful. Yeah, because when I first started meditating, and like I have so many other topics that I want to talk about, but like I said, I'm gonna go with the flow. For the most part, like when we talk about meditation, like I always tell people, I've suffered with depression like my entire life. You've seen my stages, right? And I've been on all types of medicine, and medicine, if it works for you, it works for you. But what has healed me, what has brought me to the man that I am today in front of you, is the fact that meditation helped me, being able to sit with myself. So I've sat with my wife, and me and my wife, we're on separate spiritual journeys within our own togetherness. So when it comes to meditation, I would tell her, like, you sit down as long as you can. The more you do it, the better you're going to get. It's just like shooting a basketball. Anything in life, the more that you do it, unless you just totally suck, right? But the more that you do it, the better that you're going to get, the more that you're going to learn. And that meditation, it's so freaking powerful. It's so freaking powerful. And I don't know why we're not pushing this more, why we're not telling people like, hey, before you go try this and put this in your body that's going to alter your spirit, why don't you try to just be alone? Why don't you try, like we're saying no outside distractions. Like sitting here, I can sit and lay in this grass for hours now and literally just be connected and sit and pour pure bliss because I've done it, right? And so anyways, back to what you were saying is that with following your intuition, that leads me to what I was about to talk about, is that when it comes to success, following your journey, do you truly listen to what people are telling you, or do you follow your true self and say, all right, well, I'm going to bet on this. Everybody tells you like, no, don't do that, Jose. Are you one of those people that says, you know what, I'm going to do it because I truly feel this is right for me? Or do you stop yourself and then overthink it?
So, first of all, I always look for coaches and mentors, and I pay these people because, and you got to pay to play. Pay to play is a normal thing, and you got to invest in your best self. And sometimes you got to seek the people that have gone before you, have made all the mistakes, right? Why do you think I read a book? I read a book because somebody put their 20 years of experience into that book, and I can read it in 2 days. And I can have 20 years of experience on one particular topic boiled down and condensed to 2 days, and then I can apply it immediately. Why do I have to reinvent the wheel? Why do I have to go through the minefield, right? They always say, if you're going to walk through a minefield, follow someone, because otherwise you're going to step on a mine. But if you already knew one blew up over here on somebody, you know, okay, I can go here because somebody already got blown up here, right? So the key is, if you're going to walk through life, follow somebody. If you are going to try to be your best and pursue your highest self in business and in life, you got to have coaches and mentors. So yes, I seek the advice, I listen to what they say, and then I kind of like do my own thing along the way. So I kind of so there's the thing. If a coach, right, you got to be coachable. Coachability in life is huge. So if a coach on a team tells you, let's say a basketball coach tells Michael Jordan, you got to do this, and Michael Jordan doesn't do it, then you're not gonna do the best thing you can possibly do, because a coach knows what he's doing. So you have to follow the play. You got to run the play. Football doesn't really matter. So when a coach tells you to do something, you got to run the play. You got to be coachable. But in the process of that, you have your gut, you have your instinct, you have your intuition, and you have past experiences. So sometimes you might tweak and constant course correct, CCC, constant course correction. So that's going to happen, and it's going to come into play. But one thing you should not do, that I recommend to anybody that's listening, is try to learn everything on your own. And so many of us do that. Many of us do that because of ego.
That's a long process.
And a lot of us do it because of pride. And we're like, I'm not going to listen to this person or that person. I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to do it this way. And that's okay if you want to do it that way. But again, remember, there are people that have gone before us in just about anything in life. All we got to do is find the people that are where we want to be in certain departments of our life. I'm not going to take advice from somebody on how to have a happy marriage from somebody who's been divorced 3 times.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
And I'm not going to take advice from somebody who's 300 pounds telling me how to get in shape, right? So not one person can tell you how to do everything right. You have to have different coaches and different advice and different mentors in different areas of your life.
Yeah, no, that's actually, I was going to say is that, like, that's one thing that I started to learn. And back to referencing music is I used to listen to people who knew nothing about music. They'd be like, oh, bro, you need to do this. You need to make a TikTok. You need to do this. And then I was like, why the fuck am I listening to this guy? He's trying to tell me how to get $1 million and he barely got a paycheck. You know what I'm saying?
That is right. Amen to that.
So we have to be selective on the people that we do listen to, the people that, like you said that look at someone who's in a position that you want to be in and then ask them or get in tune with that and then apply it. But another thing is, it's not about following the way that someone does it exactly, right? It's about picking out the things that work for you, because a lot of people, they look at people and they're like, oh, well, this person did it this way, so I got to follow it to the T. I'm one of those people where everything that you say, I love it, but I'm going to pick out what works for me and what applies for me and apply it to my actual life in that sense. Some people feel like, oh, if I'm not doing it this way, then I'm doing it wrong. No, back to what you said. Everything is a lesson. Everything is trial and error. And I do believe that if you do try to step out there and do it on your own and just learn on your own, you are going to be on a longer journey. You got to follow the examples that were before you. So
I'll chime in on something there. There's something called the 6 Ps, which I reference all the time. Proper prior planning prevents poor performance, right? So proper prior planning prevents poor performance. We have to not only be coachable, not only seek the advice, not only get the information, but we have to plan it out, right? And in the same process of planning what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, you got to execute. There's so many people who the whole concept of ready, aim, fire, they're like ready, aim, 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 and they never pull the trigger, right? It's ready, aim, fire. 1, 2, 3, right? So everything you're saying, I resonate with, and I think it just comes down to making sure that you are seeking the advice, you are coachable, you are willing to learn from others, but you also have to trust your gut, and you got to go with your intuition in the process of that growth process journey.
No, yeah, that's beautifully put. So, with all this, and you being who you are, how do you maintain this functionality? Because one of the things that us as men, us as fathers, us as leaders, is that as a man, you're not allowed to show emotions, right? It's against emotions. I've became so in tune with my emotions where, like, now if I feel that I need to cry, I'm gonna cry. If I'm upset, then I'm going to voice, hey, I'm upset. If I'm offended and I feel that I need to tell someone I'm offended, I have to do that, because I'm not willing to no longer compromise my inner being for someone else's security or for someone else's acceptance. This, for example, like, if you disrespect me, I'd be like, hey, Jose, like, hey, bro, I feel super disrespected in that sense. And I feel like now is the perfect time to do this. So back to what I was saying is, like, my question is, how do you maintain that? How do you maintain that for Jose? How do you maintain this winner spirit? Because at times, sometimes things don't go the way that we expect it in our heads. Sometimes, you might have this big dream for yourself, and then you get there and it didn't meet the standards that you set for yourself. So
how would you rephrase the question specifically?
How do you maintain the winner spirit in low times?
So I have a famous saying that I say all the time, and that's winners win.
I was getting to that. Yes, sir.
And then I also have another saying that kind of piggybacks off that, saying winners always find a way to win, right? Because too many of us throw in the towel too soon.
Yes.
A lot of us acknowledge defeat before the battle. We're already in our heads, like Mike Tyson, right? Like Mike Tyson, he walks into a fight and everybody thinks they're going to kick his butt, and then they get punched in the face one time, and they're like, oh, snap. Like, I'm not sure I signed up for I think I signed up for the wrong thing, right? And he would instill fear in people. He will put on a show. He will intimidate and say things and act crazy. So the opponent already lost the fight before they even get in the ring, right? So same concept when it comes to winning and in the midst of adversity and challenges and just the mindset. I think the winner's mindset is the difference between success and failure. The most successful people in life have a winner's mindset. They have that winner's win mentality, the mantra. That's my mantra. I say it in my head all the time. Whenever I'm struggling, whenever I feel like I can't do something, I say, Jose, winners win. Internal dialogue, right? Who do we talk to the most? Ourselves. Who talks to us the most? Ourselves, right? So we hear our internal dialogue. The problem is our internal dialogue, most people sucks because the internal dialogue that we have is the result of all the negative things that have happened to us, the negative people in our lives, the things that we listen to, the things that we see, our surroundings, our circumstances, right? Our environment. So you have to protect your environment, not only physically into who is in your network and your circle, but also what you're listening to, what you're watching, what you're reading, who speaks into your life, right? They always say, how big is your world? Right? How big is your world? Really powerful question. Your world is as big as the amount of people you allow into it, right? So how many people do you allow to speak into your life? Not everybody should be speaking into your life. You got to be very careful about who you accept advice from, who is allowed to tell you things directly, because not everybody should. Not everybody should. So it really comes down to protecting your mindset, having the winner's mentality that whatever you desire in life, you can achieve. I truly believe that I can do whatever I want. If I want to be this guy, Elon Musk, if I want to make Elon Musk money, I know I can do it. I believe I can do it, but it starts with a belief. The reality is that most people don't believe it in their heart of hearts. They don't believe they can do this. They don't believe they can be the next Rick Ross or be the next Bill Gates or be the next whoever
Pastor
it is, right?
Troy.
Pastor Troy. They don't believe that in their heart of hearts. Now they say it and they want to believe it, but they truly don't believe it, right? And nobody's going to believe in you until you believe in you. And you got to believe in you at the highest level, and you got to have that winner's mindset that you will not be defeated. And whatever you want in life is at the other end of rolling up your sleeves, doing the work, having the faith, and staying in the consistent phase of discipline.
That's beautiful. I like it. I like sitting with it. I love the way that you present it. It's a very great way to think. Anyways, man. So another thing I like to touch on is not only are you this businessman, but you're a father. A father of how many? How many you got now?
I have 5 kids currently.
Okay.
Going on number 6 due in October.
Oh, so you didn't caught up to me. I got 5. I don't want 6, right? How do you maintain the fatherhood of things, right? It's tough sometimes. Being a father, being a husband can be very stressful. So how do you balance being a father and being a full-time entrepreneur?
Great question. First of all, there's no such thing as work-life balance. People always say you got to have a work-life balance. Does it exist? I say no. I think the intention of a work-life balance is a valid thing. It's a noble thing to believe and to pursue. I think the pursuit of a work-life balance is there. It's important and it's a noble thing. I don't believe it exists because if you're going to be great at anything, then you got to be all in on that thing. And sometimes there's going to be an imbalance. Sometimes I'm not enough of a dad. Sometimes I'm not enough of a husband. Sometimes I'm not enough of a businessman.
Yes.
Because I'm too heavy in one area.
Absolutely.
It's really hard to be great at everything all the time, right? But as there's also the other side of that coin. And Dr. Phil says it all the time. He says it doesn't matter how flat you make a pancake, it still has 2 sides, right? So on the other side of that coin is they say how you do anything is how you do everything. Right. So excellence is required all the time in every aspect of your life. And there's 10 different life domains. Right. So you have your spiritual life, you have your emotional life, you have your intellectual life, you have your physical life, your marital, your parental, your financial, your vocational, avocational. You have 10 different areas of your life. So you got to make sure that you are pursuing excellence across the board in all of them. And being a parent is just one. It's just one category of success, right? People say, I'm successful because I have $1 million business. How about no? How about maybe you're doing really well financially? How about that verbiage? But are you successful? If your marriages fall apart and you're not a dad and you're not this and you're 300 pounds and not really caring to improve
what
your health?
deems success? Success is the eye of the beholder at that point. That's my thing too. Back to we spoke briefly about it, right? Is some people might look at what we're doing right now and say this is not professional, right? It's these type of words.
According to who?
Who set the stature for that?
Who is the committee of they? Who they say? Who's they?
In fact, we're tell me where they live, right? And that's another thing. We beat ourselves up so much about being imperfect in the eye of the world, right? And that's what sucks. But I agree with what you said is that sometimes sometimes you're going to have a bad day as being a dad. Sometimes you're going to have a bad day as being an entrepreneur. And sometimes you're just going to have a bad day in general, right? I believe that is true balance, right? You have to have those times because then you can cherish the great times. If life was just always the same thing, you wouldn't know what good and bad truly is. So you have to experience that. And a lot of people think that it's extremely hard. I don't think that is necessarily hard. I think that once you realize that this is how it is, you got to roll with the punches. You got to take it on the chin. Your kids are going to frustrate you. Your wife is going to frustrate you. Sometimes you're going to frustrate yourself. And back to what you said, deeming success based upon financial stability, right? You might have a dirty house. You might have no car. You might have a chain. You know what I'm saying? You might have diamond teeth and you don't have a place to stay, right? Success is based upon you. At this point, just because you can acquire material things may not deem you truly successful. It may not deem you as powerful as you think that you are. So I like that you put that there because that I agree with 100%.
Let me, so I prefaced your question with the idea that, you can't just expect to be a phenomenal father at all times, right? Because there's 10 life domains. There's a work-life balance. It doesn't really exist, but you do your best to make it exist, right? You have a noble cause or a noble desire to make that possible. So that's the preface of what I was really, to answer your question. You said, how do you do that? How do you how do you stay a good father in the midst of all this stuff? So first of all, I believe that we make the time, we create time for the things that we find to be a priority, right? When people say to me, I don't have time to read, because I recommend to people all the time, read this book, read that book.
I hear it all the time.
When people come to me and they say, hey, I'm having this challenge, like a doctor, I prescribe books. And I say, hey, man, you should read this book. Or, hey, girl, you should read this book, right? Now, the reality is that when it comes to this, learning and growing and reading and doing all these things and me prescribing books to people, which I always love doing, it goes back to when it comes to parenting, right? In parenting, you're going to find that it's never easy. It's never predictable. It is up and down, ebbs and flows, highs and lows. There's always going to be something going on, especially with different age brackets, right? I have a 17-year-old about to be a senior in high school, all the way down to a toddler, like 1.5.
Same.
Right? And one in the belly. They all have a different level. They have a different level. I have a terrible twos. I have all these different things, right? So they all come in different ways. But the reality is, like, what I strive to do is to make sure that my children find me in the act of excellence as often as possible, right? Because as a parent, as a father, we have to be leaders, right? We have to be leaders. And call me old school or call me traditional, but I believe that anything with two heads is a monster. And I believe that the man should be the head of the household in terms of leadership, protecting and providing and leading the family, right? That's what I believe. Now, I do that. I live by that here in my house. So when it comes to everything I'm saying, like, it's important that you create the time for the things that you find a priority. So when people tell me I don't have time to read, I say, no.
Bullshit.
You have time. You just don't see it as a priority. So you don't schedule it. You don't put it in your calendar. It's like dessert, right? People treat reading like dessert. If I get to it and I can still fit it in my belly, awesome. I'll enjoy it, right? But no, you have to treat it like a meal, like an actual meal, because it's actually the entree, reading, right? So if you want to improve your life, you got to read. You gotta grow. You gotta do these things. So it goes back to the whole concept of, in my calendar, what you're going to find in my calendar is I put God first, my family second, health, business, and then recreation and all the other things after that, right? So I eat dinner with my family every single night. I walk with my kids in my neighborhood throughout the day. My wife is a stay-at-home mom, homeschooler. I have a home office. I'm a self-entrepreneur, full-time entrepreneur from home, right? So I am here all the time. I read books to my kids. The kids learn to read, and they learn to love reading on the laps of their parents. So I read books to my kids, right? That's why we have family reading time, because it's a culture of reading. The kids need to see the environment. They need to see me reading, right? They need to see me in the act of it. They need to see me praying. They need to see me reading. They need to see me working out. They need to see me doing the things I expect them to do, right? Because otherwise your actions speak so loudly, I hear not what you say. I could say you should be doing this, but I'm not doing it, but you should do it. No, that's not how it works, right? So we got to lead. We got to lead, and we got to make the time for our kids, make the time for our spouse, and make the time for ourselves and God, and then everything else comes after that.
Yeah, I like that. One of the things about being a great leader, my brother actually told me this, is he said, leaders lead from the front, right? And that, for me, that applies on multiple levels. And I tell people all the time, being a dad, being a husband, there's things that I may have to do that might scare the shit out of me, right? Like for example, if there was someone trying to break in your house, right? Like, you have to be the one to,
I don't think it'd be smart.
I mean, I'll say the same thing. I'm like, yeah, show up at my house at 11 o'clock unannounced. You're going to get a whole different person. This person on the camera is not who you're going to see, right? And that's the thing about being the leader. The leader, you gotta step out there on that front line and do what it do, right? You gotta set the example, set the tone. So I definitely agree with what you said. I definitely agree with the fact that you have to show them. You have to provide them with the physical example. I can't tell my kids to eat healthy if I'm not eating healthy. I can't tell my kids to meditate if I do not meditate. And I agree with that. Another thing is, you say you set the culture. One thing that I talk about is, now where I'm at spiritually, is that I realize that everything is rituals and cults. Now, when we hear these words cults, we think that, oh, it's this bad. There's extremists for everything, right? But no matter if you're a fan of a sports team, that's a cult. It may be deemed a sports team, but it's a cult. It creates a sports team culture, right? So providing your kids with that culture, this is still where I'm using an extreme word in a sense, but this is your personal cult. This is your family. These are all words that we're using, but you're setting the tone. You're providing them with, okay, this is what you do. You pray like this. You meditate like this. You read these books. This is going to teach you intelligence, because our children, they're so free. They're so boundless, is that they can learn the wrong behaviors from the outside world. And if we don't set the tone, if we're not in their lives, if we're not leading, then they might become astray by society. And that's one of the scariest things, is like, for me, I don't know what your upbringing is. I didn't have a dad. So I had to kind of find my way to where I am now. Now, ultimately, I found my way, but now I realize my value in being the father to my children, in being a husband, in being, a dad, or being all these different things. Dad and father are the same thing, but I have to lead by example, and that's beautiful, bro. It's beautiful to be this. I never thought that I would be the man that I am now.
I am very proud of you, Tuesday, because I like
that you use that name.
I have been watching you. I have been paying attention, and you have had tremendous personal and professional growth over the last couple of years. Since I've known you, you're a different man. And I can say man, because not everybody is a man, even though they're grown, right? They say with age comes wisdom. But then on the other token, sometimes age comes alone. right? It doesn't mean that you're wiser because you're older. Sometimes kids are still behaving and thinking like they're 13, but they're 40, So you are a man, respectable. You're there for your family. You're doing your thing. You're seeking your highest self and you're pursuing excellence. And that's to be commended. So kudos to you.
I want to say thank you. I always tell people I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for the people who lead by example around me. Like I said at the beginning of this, I admire who you are. You've always had this thing, back to what I said before, that winners win. And when I was younger, when we first linked up, you used to always be like, winners win. Bro, you took me to one of my first football games. I think you took me to my first football game. And the crazy thing is we showed up there unannounced. We didn't know how we were going to get in, right?
But winners find a way to win.
But we got in, right? You did that for me. And when I went, I realized that sometimes you just got to find a way, right? It's one of those things. Sometimes you got to find a way. And you showing me that, now that's my mind state. My mind state is, we're doing this podcast. I forgot my microphones, but we're making it happen. Winners win, right? So in that sense, sometimes things don't go your way and you got to step into that. You got to win, even if everything else is betting against you. So I like that. I want to say thank you for you giving me my flowers, but I want to also say that I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for you as a friend to lead by example and be there in the times of need. So thank you. Ultimately.
My pleasure, man. Thank you. And thank you for the kind words as well. It's birds of a feather flock together, right? A rising tide raises all ships. I can keep going with all kinds of quotes, but you get my point. And it's like iron sharpens iron, right? Like I love being around people that stretch me. I love being around people that inspire me. I love being around people that are pursuing excellence. I love being around people that are not throwing in the towel, not giving up, are expecting the best, right? In life, they're expecting the best out of life, and they're after it. They're getting after it, right? You have a coffee mug there that says, what does it say on there?
Get after it.
Get after it, right? That's a coffee mug from Jocko Willink. If you've never heard of Jocko Willink out there, make sure you check out Jocko Willink. Jocko Willink is a Navy SEAL, amazing author, world-renowned speaker. He has a great book called Extreme Ownership, right? In life, we have to take extreme ownership with everything that we do, right? So many people are pointing fingers and saying it's because of this or because of that or making excuses. At the end of the day, everybody has excuses, right? Sometimes we see it as a valid reason why we're not doing something. Well, this is my reason why I can't do this. To you, it's a reason. To everybody else's ears, it's an excuse. Yes. And they say an excuse is a thin shell stuffed with a lie. And the only person you're lying to is to yourself. So don't find reasons why you can't do something. Find the reason why you can do it and get it done. And that's what life requires, and that's what we're doing. And very exciting.
That reminds me of David Goggins. You know about David Goggins? Yeah. I like him. I like the way. Oh man, I'm messing up. I like the way that David Goggins talks. He's a realist, and like the things that he says, like one of the things that I love that he says is he's like, you want to know why you're not in shape? It's because you're a lazy motherfucker, right? Yeah. And let's be real, like that's what it is. The reason why you are not where you want to be is because you, right? It's because, back to what you said, those excuses. Now there are valid reasons, I agree, but back to what you said, to the world, it's just an excuse. You want sympathy. You want somebody to feel bad for you. This, and that. Like, F all that, bro. Like, you gotta make the way. You want to be skinny, you gotta hit that gym. You want to be healthy, you gotta eat right. These are the things that you have to do for yourself. Don't make no excuses. Go out there and get it. So.
I've been driving my son to school every morning, since he was in 4th grade, and he's about to be a senior in high school, right? Now he's about to get his license this summer, so that's going to be over. And I'm going to be sad because I love our car time, right? Because he goes to a private school, so I drive him half an hour to the school, and then my wife picks him up after school, right? So my other kids are homeschooled, so he's the only one he was already in the private school, and then we said just keep him there, but all the other ones are being homeschooled. But I always talk to him in the morning as I take him to school. I always give him some kind of a value add, inspiration, a golden nugget, something that's just going to equip him for life, right? And for the day. And one thing that I always tell him, I say, Noah, listen, life is not going to require more than what you've got. It's just going to require all of what you've got, right now in the moment. So you don't have to be better than you are right now. You just have to be your best where you are right now. And if you can give your best to anything you apply yourself to, that's good enough. And it's only going to get better and better and better as you continue to hone the skills. And life requires skill sets. Life requires you to develop yourself. So the more skill set you bring to the marketplace, the more money you make in life. And you're never going to get paid more in life than the skill sets that you have. And you're never going to get paid more than what your self-image will allow you to receive. So
I like that. I don't know. You just made me regret my face tats, but I still think I'm gonna be great, extremely successful. I already am based upon myself. But that was very beautiful, and you just made me realize how beautiful you truly are, because the things that you retain, the things that you say, they're very powerful. Being able to have a dad like you in his life lets me know, like, bro, he's going to be extremely powerful if he has someone who can give him this knowledge at this level, the same way that we're communicating, and he can apply it to his life as a kid. So all right, anyways, but back to leading by example. What would the Jose that you are today, right now in this moment, say to a younger version of yourself looking back?
I would say never feel that the mistakes you've made in life are permanent mistakes that are going to affect your future. I don't regret anything, Lachey. You just said I regret the tattoos on my face, kind of in passing.
I was just going to say, you have a face tat, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I have one right here on my eyebrow, and I have one in my inner lip. I'm sleeved up, so I don't regret any of it, right? Like currently right now, the path that I'm going on, the businessman, right? The speaker, speaking on stages every week all across the country, now globally. I'm speaking in Greece in October. I spoke in Romania. I'm speaking all over. The people that I'm leading, right? Having 5 kids and one on the way, 6 kids, right? Is it the best for me to be sleeved up with a tattoo on my face and all that kind of stuff? Is it the best look for what I'm doing in my life right now and where I want to go? Not necessarily. Probably not my target audience and what I'm doing right now. But do I regret it? No. You know why? Because it's who I am. It's what created me. It's part of my journey. It's what makes me unique and what makes me special. People are like, oh, they see me and they're like, oh man, I would have never guessed you're sleeved up and tatted. Is that a tattoo on your face? And I'm like, yeah, it is. And they're like, what? Really? And so, but that's what makes me different, right? And that's what separates me from everybody else. So I don't regret anything. Have I made poor decisions in my life? Yes, I've made many poor decisions, man. That's more than I can think of. I've been locked up multiple times, not for long extended stays, but overnighters multiple times. I've been in hospitals. I have over 60 stitches all over my body from dumb things that I've done. I've gotten into bar fights, all kinds of fights. I was hanging around the wrong people for a long time. And when I say the wrong people, I don't mean bad people because they're good people in their heart, but just people that were making mistakes, that were misguided and weren't really bringing any value to my life, right? And a lot of times I was a ringleader doing all the dumb things and leading people to do dumb things, right? So all of that is part of your life journey, right? And now it's a matter of, okay, I have made my mistakes. I've lived life a little bit. I've done some things. Now I have some wisdom that I can pour into those that I'm leading now, like my kids and the people that I lead, is I don't do this, do this, don't do that, do that, because I've been down the road, right? So I don't regret anything. And I think it's important for people out there to understand that wherever you are in your lot in life right now, you are there because you choose to be there. I'll say it again. You are where you are right now in your life because you choose to be there.
You accepted it.
You accepted it. The decisions you've made have gotten you to where you are right now. Now, if you don't like where you are right now, guess what? You can change that. You can change it, and it doesn't have to take you 10 years. I built a 7-figure business, right? I built $1 million business in 2.5 years. Well, 15 months. Let me clarify. In 15 months, I went from having a job, right? Nothing wrong with that. But I had a standard job making about $50K a year. And massive debt, not doing much, and I built a 7-figure business in 15 months organically. Why am I saying that? Am I saying that to toot my own horn? No, I'm saying that to inspire anybody out there who's listening to this, to tell you that if you want to do something in your life, you can change your life at any time, wherever you are right now. And it's not about the resources. It's not about, I don't know that, I don't have the connections. I don't know how to do it. I don't have the money. I don't have this. Everybody's so caught up on, I don't have the resources. It's not about that. It's about your ability to be resourceful. How resourceful are you? I'm super resourceful. I'll figure it out. That's why I say winners win, right? That's why I say winners find a way to win. I just made a commitment. So many people are deciding, I'm going to decide today to be successful. I'm going to decide today I'm going to pursue this dream. And then they decide tomorrow I change my mind. And they don't decide it consciously and out loud. They decide it based on their actions, based on their poor habits. So stop deciding to do something and start committing, because commitment is all in, right? There's this famous saying that the chicken, the hen was involved, but the pig was committed. Why? Because if you eat the eggs, the hen is still running around, but you got to eat eggs. He just laid the eggs. She laid the eggs, but still running around, still alive. The pig had to die for you to eat that bacon. That's called commitment. So how all in are you in what you're trying to pursue is the question.
That's beautiful, man. And yeah, this is powerful. I want to say everything that you said, it works. I'm looking at, the product. And even though you're not finished, I know that there's the ceiling for you.
We're just getting started, man.
Same. I feel the same way about myself. I'm like, bro, I've got here, and the ceiling for me is the universe at this point. Before we end, I usually, everyone that I have on this podcast, there's 2 things that I ask from them. The first one is, I need a great book for you. One that you apply to your life. One that you would highly recommend for someone who is trying to be or find this energy that you have embodied and become. And 2, a quote of the day that you stand by.
2 of my favorite questions, actually, coincidentally. First of all, I can't just recommend one book. I have to recommend 3.
Let's do it.
There's too many books for me just to let get down to one. And frankly, remember, it's like one size doesn't fit all. One size doesn't fit all. And frankly, we're all in different places in life, and we all have different needs and different things we're working on. So books to me are like a prescription, right? I can't prescribe one thing to one person and prescribe the same thing to the next person, because it might not serve you the same way. So to say one book is like almost a sin, right? But I will tell you 3 books.
Let's do it.
And based on your lot in life, one of these books will serve you. I'm almost certain of it, right? And what I'm prescribing is like Tylenol, Robitussin, and the general things that anybody could use. Yeah, Motrin. Now anybody could use that in one of those 3 categories, right? So in this case, the first one I would say, in no particular order, is the 5 a.m. Club. The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. Phenomenal book. It talks about morning routine, the importance of waking up early, and all the moving parts on how to maximize your life. It's almost like a novel, like you're reading a story, but it brings all kinds of phenomenal stuff in there. Great principles. The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma, hands down, one book. The other book is by John Maxwell, one of my favorite books on personal and professional development. It's called The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. So again, John Maxwell is the author. The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. Phenomenal read, one of my favorites. And if I had to give a third one, which I wish I could give like 15, but if I give one more, I would easily say Jocko Willink's book, the Jocko Willink, Extreme Ownership. We got to be extreme about taking ownership about our stuff, right? For lack of a better word, I don't want to say the S word, but we got to take extreme. We got to take extreme ownership of our lives and of our actions, because we're in charge of it. We only get one. People say, "Oh, you only live once." No. You only die once. You live daily. And the reality is you only die once, but you live daily. And if you're living daily, then live it at your best, at the best. Live it at the highest, right? Don't flirt with it. right? You got to be all in. You got to marry life. You got to be all in with it. You got to be fully alive every single day, not half alive. It's amazing how there's people walking around right now that are like 40 years old, but they died 20 years ago. You know, so be fully alive, live every single day. So that's another book, Extreme Ownership. And the last thing, as a bonus, I would recommend my book, simple, shameless plug, but it's a really good book. And it's called Winning the Day, right? Which is all about morning routine and evening routine. Most books only talk about morning. I talk about the evening too. It's called the bookends of your day. How you start your day, how you end your day. They're interconnected, right? So Winning the Day. The website for that is www.winningthedaybook.com. So Winning the Day, just add the word book, winningthedaybook.com. I'll sign it, personalize it, send it out to anybody who wants it. Great book. And then the last thing, the quote. One of my favorite quotes of all time that I live by is commitment to continuity establishes emotional stability. So commitment to continuity establishes emotional stability. So if you're committed to being continuously doing something, then by default, you will have this EQ, this emotional quotient, right? The EQ, there's IQ, right? How smart you are. There's EQ, your level of emotional stability, right? So you will be emotionally stable along the journey of because so many people are like this all the time, right? They're happy, they're sad, they're upset, they're frustrated, they're so they're like this. Like, so if you want some joy, fulfillment, consistency in your life, sometimes it's just about being committed, right? To being continuously after something. Commitment to continuity establishes emotional stability. That's a phenomenal quote. I love it. It's anonymous. I don't know who said it, but I heard it from a mentor. And one last quote, I know you said one, but I'll give one more, is the quote by Robin Sharma. And Robin Sharma says, everything is hard in the beginning, messy in the middle, but glorious in the end. So anything you commit to, and success in life is uphill all the way. It is uphill all the way. So if you ever feel like you're coasting, then you're going to be roasting real soon, right? If you're coasting, you're roasting. Because if you're like this, you're not doing this. And anything that stays and plateaus by default eventually decays, right? So if you're challenging yourself in life and you're going uphill, you know you're going in the right direction. Because if you're challenging yourself, you're living where? You're not in your comfort zone, you're living in your discomfort zone. So when you live in your discomfort zone, you're doing the hard things. And hard things lead to phenomenal results, right? Which is why most people aren't willing to do the hard things. So ask yourself, is what I'm doing right now in life uphill? Do I feel the uphill challenge? If you don't, you got to fix that. If it is uphill, good. Pat yourself on the back, stay committed to that, stay consistent, because that will pay off over time. So along the journey in the beginning of hardness, right, eventually it gets messy. Eventually things start sucking. Eventually you start getting drained and burnout and frustration and confusion. And is this for me? I give up. All these thoughts and feelings start to kick in. But winners win. And you got to stay the course. And you got to be committed. And eventually it's glorious. When you look back and you say, it was worth it.
Like that, that's beautiful. Before we end, do you have anything coming up that, anybody who's tuned in can be a part of, can check you out, drop your links?
Yes.
Just let me know.
Yeah, so
let us know.
First of all, as I mentioned, the book, I recommend people read my book. Outside of the fact that I wrote it and I love it and I'm biased, it is a phenomenal book. A lot of books out there are like lead magnets. It's basically like 80% sales pitch, 20% value. I did it the other way around. It's 80% value, 20%. If you want to do more work with me, the door's open, right? But it's essentially 80. If somebody just reads my book and never does anything else with me, they can change their lives. So winningthedaybook.com. So the name of the book is Winning the Day, An Entrepreneur's Guide to Morning and Evening Routine Mastery. That's the subtitle. And the subtitle is the powerful promise of the title, right? That's what a subtitle is to a book. Winning the Day is the title. The subtitle, which is a powerful promise of the title, is An Entrepreneur's Guide to Morning, Evening Routine Mastery. So that's the first thing, if anybody wants that. The second thing I'd recommend is checking out my website, connectedleadersacademy.com. So Connected Leaders Academy, we're a growing tribe, a community of some of the highest level entrepreneurs all around the world. We have real estate investors, realtors, insurance brokers, attorney offices, coaches, authors, speakers, trainers, publishing companies, social media gurus, branding experts, martial arts school owners, restaurateurs. I mean, I can keep going. The best of all industries under one roof, one community, one tribe. If anybody's a business owner out there and they want to scale their influence, meaning they want to be more of the authority in their industry, they want to move the needle in their business, more clients, more money, more profit, right? They want to grow personally and professionally, right? We all want to be better people and better business owners. You want to develop your skill sets, right? None of us have arrived. We're all learning and growing. We want to be better in certain areas where we're not so strong. So you want to be a part of a community where iron sharpens iron. And of course, you want to grow your network and your circle so you can expand and get that reach and not only have that local connection, but nationwide and also globally. This community is for you. Connected Leaders Academy. We have over 400 members right now, paid members, 45 states, 21 countries, and we're growing every single day. Anyways, if you want information on that, check out the website, www.connectedleadersacademy.com. And then, of course, I put on events for entrepreneurs around the country consistently. So if anybody's interested in that, all the information is on my website under the events tab. And there's that. So I look forward to connecting with anybody who wants to connect. I'm an open book. I'm always looking to serve. I consider myself to be a servant leader. I'm never like, oh no, you got to pay me first if you want me to talk to you. I'm very much here to make an impact in the world, make a dent in the world, and serve at the highest level for anybody who may want some help or assistance or guidance.
I like that. That was perfect. And you guys hear it. You guys heard it first right here. Tap in with my brother, Jose Escobar. He's a great leader. If you like everything that we talked about on this podcast, if it resonated with you, make sure you hit a like, a subscribe button. Make sure that you share it with your friends and your family and your loved ones. And until next time, peace, love, and light. Big swim.
I'm on the way. I'm on the way. My vibration got too damn high. I got stuck in the cloud.